Hi there, my name is Rachel, and I want to welcome you today to Mums at the Table. I am joined today by my friends Shona.
Hi, Rachel.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Mary Ellen.
Hello.
Hi. And Melody.
Hello.
How are you guys doing today?
Excellent.
Yeah?
I'm so ready to talk about these topics. I'm
Really?
so excited.
You look so cute in that top.
Thank you.
Well, you know, with October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we're going to talk with and be inspired by breast cancer survivor Tanya Manwaring. We'll also dive deep into what parenting looks like in different cultures, talk about breast milk banks, and see if we can come to any conclusion at all about whether or not kids should be brought to funerals. But let's kick it off with the celebration. The Australian Red Cross has just set up the first breast milk bank at Adelaide's Women's and Children's Hospital and Flinders Medical Center. This milk bank will be invaluable, especially for premature babies, sick babies, as well as babies whose mothers are unwell and unable to produce milk due to illnesses. Ladies, I'm just curious about what your experiences have been with breastfeeding and if something like this would have come in handy for you.
Well, it would have come in handy for me because I had an epidural which punctured my spinal cord. So I had a migraine for 8 weeks. And one of the child that I had when I had that was in neonatal. So we were having to do the breast milk run.
Oh, my goodness.
All the way, you know, like a 20-minute run in and out to the hospital every day.
So you
3
weren't
times a
staying
day
in the hospital during that time? Wow.
So that would have been great for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that you could have those kind of complications with an epidural, 8-week migraine. Yeah.
So that would have been really good assistance to have had that.
I'm actually a little bit conflicted about this whole thing. Like, I think it's a wonderful thing. And, you know, looking back at my journey, I'll be like, oh, great, it would be great to have that. But yet, at the same time, I'm wondering, I'm also questioning myself as to why I'm thinking it's such a great thing. Because, well, my journey was such that, you know, I never produced enough milk. My milk never came in. And so I wasn't able to breastfeed Elliot. And up till now, I'm still dealing with the guilt of never being able to do that. And just the immense guilt of having to go to formula. But then I'm thinking, is formula really that bad?
No, it's not.
But where do you think that guilt comes from, like that sense of guilt that you feel?
Basically, the whole message, you know, breast is best and that you need to breastfeed your child is like formula. I don't know. Well, when you say breast is best, obviously the implication is formula is second best. And all mothers only want to give the best for their kids, right?
Yeah. My first one, we bottle fed right from day dot, and he's this strapping 6-foot guy who's, you know, really built. And so, you know, I think for me anyway, it's whatever you can do.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Both my brother and I were bottle fed right from day dot. So you think, you know, with that kind of background, I'll be fine with formula feeding. Yeah. But yeah, I still can't shake the guilt. Like, I still have that guilt that's in my psyche.
Did you have a lot of friends around you breastfeeding, or was it, you know, the nurses in the hospital, or where do you think it? I
think it's just from the, you know, when your pregnancy journey, the only thing that they talk about is basically breastfeeding.
Yeah. The media pushes breast is best really hard. And you do get guilty when you have to go on to bottle feeding. Yeah.
But does another woman's breast milk, is that as beneficial for your child as your own breast milk? You know, breast is best, but
you know,
don't know. We don't know, but that'd be something asking, I suppose.
Oh, go ahead.
I think it's just because of the supposedly the special enzymes or whatever, colostrum or whatever it is that's in the breast milk. So it doesn't matter where. With some caveats, of course, it doesn't matter as long as it's breast milk, like it could be another woman's breast milk.
I think from the milk banks, they're actually going through the process that they would with blood. So they're actually testing the milk, they're pasteurizing the milk. Yeah, so it's going through a lot of processes to make sure that it's actually healthy milk. Yeah. There are other places on Facebook where you can, you know, get milk from other moms who are just offering it up in different ways like that. Well, you know, we're grateful to have this milk bank. It's going to bring health and life to many little ones in South Australia. So whether you're breastfeeding or you're bottle feeding, we just want to see happy little bubbas, so fed is definitely best. And speaking of food, we're off to cook chocolate almond butter chia bars with Gia and Olive.
Hello.
We have some really special guests.
Do we? And who are they? It's a lady beetle. The lady beetle wants some chocolate almond bars that we're going to make.
Yeah, and there's somebody else.
Introduce.
Penguin and Dashi.
And Dashi. Okay, so we've got some guests here to help us make our chocolate almond chia seed bars. You know what? At the shops, I'm sick of having to buy like protein balls and all the new things that are like the, you know, bee's knees right now. but having to pay so much money to eat them, and they're only come in small packets, or you only get one ball for like $4 or something. So I'm going to share with you some recipes that we like to use at our house, that we use for like protein bars or little bars you can give your children for school. It'll keep their energy up for the whole day because it's slow releasing. It's not full of sugar. Do you want to help me? You need to help me. So can you give me the 1/4 cup of almonds?
First, Penguin is gonna do it.
Okay, thank you. 1/4 cup of almonds. Roasted almonds if you can. If not, doesn't matter, they could just be raw. 1.5 tablespoons of chia seed. So 1.5 tablespoons of chia seed. And we use 1 cup of medjool dates. Use medjool dates. For those people that don't know the difference, medjool dates are actually the softer, really juicy. They're really sticky, so they'll help stick the bar together. Okay, so 1 cup of those. You can have one, go on. I know how much you love them. Now, we're going to put chocolate in this one. You don't have to put chocolate in it, but it really helps make it chocolatey. 2 tablespoons of chocolate, cacao or cocoa, or the raw cocoa that you can use. And I'm going to use 1/4 cup of almond butter. Also 1 tablespoon extra, okay? So 1/4 cup plus a tablespoon on top of that, okay? Now let's see how we go now that she's eaten one of the dates, if this is going to work out, because sometimes if a date's missing, let's try. So I just had that mixing for about a minute, and you want it to be sticky between your fingers, and there is still going to be bits in there. So you're going to still see almond bits. I might just whiz it just a touch more because there's a few more large bits of dates that I want it to just go through to keep it sticky. See, that is just so simple, and making it at home, you know what's in it. There's no preservatives. There's none of that great stuff they put in there, like the E1, whatever, all those numbers that they use. Do you want to try one of the chocolate ones? Here. Let me try too. Now, what I've done here is I've lined a loaf tin. I've lined it with baking paper, and I make the baking paper so that it's quite long on the side, so that, because I'm going to put it in the fridge for at least an hour, or freezer for half an hour. And then when it comes out and you want to cut the bars, it's so much easier to lift out like that. So that's why I use the longer bits. So pour it in. Make sure you pour it in, and make sure you start to press it. Make sure, if you want, you can actually make the bars thicker by pouring pouring in just the half section and pushing it in. So there now I'm going to place this in the freezer for maybe half an hour, and we'll be back to show you the finished product, yeah? What have we got? These are chocolate almond butter chia bars, our little protein bars. And who are you? Can you tell the camera who you are?
Moses.
And who are you? Are you Olive's brother? Yes, he's taking over because she's having too much fun in the back room. Okay, so let's cut these. I left this in the fridge for a couple of hours, or not even a couple of hours. It looks so good. These chocolate almond butter chia bars are like a protein bar, but really the cheaper version because you're making it yourself, plus you know what's in it. And you get so much more out of it. You don't even need to cut thick slices. You could just make small bars like that for the kids' lunches, or for your lunch, or hubby's lunch. If your husband is into fitness, a lot of them love protein shakes and stuff. You can actually add protein powder to the mix when you're making it. There you go. Wow. Do you want to try one and tell me what you think? Here, go for it. Tell me what you think.
Yum.
Yum? Oh, you are so good. You know exactly what to say, don't you? If you want some more of these recipes, we've got lots of lunch ideas, dinner ideas for your family. We try to make healthy easy for you. So go to our website on thetabletv.com, or follow us on Facebook on The Table TV Show, and check out all our other recipes. We'll see you next time with Olive, and maybe even Moses, because I think he's doing well, aren't you? Yeah, say bye, everyone.
Parenting blogger Christy Prada recently noted 5 differences in parenting between England and Italy in the publication thelocal.it. Ladies, I'm wondering if you think parenting is pretty universal, or if there are definitely some cultural differences that you'll see between parents from different countries.
Well, I think there's the cultural, there's some cultural things, but then, you know, there's a little bit of talk about conflict in parenting because you're from different cultures. But is it a culture thing or is it a values and beliefs kind of thing?
Well, values and the culture are sometimes one and the same, though. I mean, it's difficult to separate the two. But yeah, I think there are definite differences. I mean, you look all around the world and there are obvious differences, but there are also common threads. I mean, and I think the common threads that are most important stay there. You know, loving your children, even giving them the best, you know, things that most parents would do. But yeah, I think there is a lot of guilt around, like I see, like you were saying before, you know, feeling guilty with like the breast bank thing. There is so much guilt with parents, and I think that's only exacerbated by these cultural differences and, you know, what we think is best. And I don't know, Shona.
You look at me.
You know, I was just thinking back to the differences they note in the article. So they say, for example, this village mentality versus this individual mentality, or after the baby, you taking care of people when they come to visit you, or the people taking care of you when they come to visit you, even offering to take your baby home with them for a month to take care of them, you know, or even mama's boys and this attitude of mama's boys in Italy and how that's a cultural difference, or how people see kids in society. So in Italy, that people would see kids in society as, you know, just being a normal part of it. So, you know, thinking of differences like that, do you think that, you know, there are significant differences, maybe even for you, Melody, because you and your husband are from different cultures?
That's the thing that I was trying to wonder, because, you know, people were saying that, oh, wow, the Western culture, the Aussie culture is very individualistic and it's all about, you know, just a solo family and stuff like that. But we've never really had that in our family. Like, Daniel's family is quite involved as well. They live far away, but they try to be involved as well. So that's why I'm struggling with the whole, is it really a culture thing? Unless, you know, maybe he's not really Aussie, I don't know.
Well, mine's as Aussie as they come, even though he's from an ethnic background. But I think for me, it's part of Australia. We're so multicultural that I think we just embrace all the different cultures, and all the different values that go with it.
Yeah. I know my husband and I are from different cultures, but I think because of our religion and our relationship with God, it kind of, you know, binds us together as parents. So whether you were raised by a village or you had an upbringing from a single mom, the most universal mom trait is love. So... You like that, didn't you? However you're raising your crew, do it in a way that uniquely reflects you and the values you hold dear. So here's a topic that's sure to have many different cultural perspectives, and that's funerals. What are your thoughts when it comes to kids attending funerals? Is it a no-go zone, or is it a way to naturally explain the cycle of life to them? I'm curious to know what you ladies think about this.
Well, it's interesting. My initial reaction was, hell no, don't take kids to funerals because they'll just be disruptive, depending on their age, of course, but they'll just be disruptive and they won't understand.
Oh, here's the millennial.
But that's only because I think that teaching kids about death and taking them to funerals can be very different things. And I think, like, I reflect on my experiences growing up. Both of my grandparents died before I was 12. So I remember going to the funerals and not really understanding what was going on, being bored. But it wasn't until later that I sort of processed that. And so I think, you know, unless it's a really close family member, it's probably best not to take your child along and then tell them when they're at an age when they can actually process death properly.
So do you feel like 12 is too young to be able to process death?
I think it depends on the child. I think 12 is a fine age to do so. I was probably just a late bloomer. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just reflecting back on your experience with it.
Yeah.
I actually, in thinking about this, I actually asked, because my father passed away when I was 18. My younger brother was 11. And so he was at the funeral. I actually ended up asking my brother about how he felt about being at the funeral and stuff like that. And being a typical male, he basically said, it was just a neutral, like it had a neutral impact on him, because one of the things that the article was saying is that, oh, it might be traumatic for children to go for funerals, but he said it had a neutral impact. Although he did say as well, perhaps it's because my father had cancer, right? So it was coming.
And you have time to grieve and say your goodbyes.
Yeah. And so he said that it might be different if it was a sudden death.
Yeah. You know, one thing that's interesting is this idea of a sudden death versus, you know, this time where you're processing. And as I was reading, I saw that grief counselors were talking about the fact that sometimes the people who are there need time to process the death. So if you're taking care of kids, like if you have toddlers who are running around, or you have kids you have to worry about their nap time or things like that, that the people who are actually caring for those children are not able to process the experience in that kind of funeral ritual. So, yeah.
Obviously, we're coming from a very westernized view as well. I think there are lots of cultures where funerals are a lot, I don't want to say more important, but more emphasised perhaps, and where children should attend. So we probably shouldn't underplay the fact that, children can attend funerals. It's just...
Yeah.
And the thing is, you don't process the death at the funeral. The processing is a journey.
Yeah. And whether it's before or after, I mean, some people do process it, and it is the goodbye stage. It's a point where you can say goodbye. Because I know for me, when my grandmother died, I was about 15, and I've always had that feeling that I never actually got to say goodbye because I wasn't allowed to go to the funeral. But you process it somewhere else, some other time. Yeah.
Well, should kids attend funerals, or can you teach them about death in a different way? We love to hear what you have to say, and we'd invite you to hop onto our Facebook account at facebook.com/mumsattetable and let us know what you think. It's tempting to watch one more episode of your favorite show on Netflix, but did you know that hour of sleep that you're missing could be crucial to your health? I know I could definitely use an additional hour or two of sleep, so I'm curious to learn more.
Hello, I'm Laura Bennett. Imagine a child who was never cranky, moody or lazy. Yes, I would happily babysit one of those. Psychologist and parenting expert Colette Smart says that good sleep, though, could be the cure-all that your kids need. Colette, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We know that sleep is important. For young kids, what happens when it's lacking?
Well, there's a fascinating project that was undertaken by a whole host of universities. So it was Oxford, Cambridge, Manchester, Surrey, and a whole bunch of them. They got together because they said, as a society, we've become supremely arrogant. That was their words. And they said we're arrogant because we think we can do with less sleep than previous generations, and we absolutely cannot. We actually have a generation, parents included, who are chronically sleep deprived. And when we are sleep deprived, we're seeing a host of issues, particularly in children. We're seeing things like mood disorders. We're seeing children not being able to concentrate at school during the day. They're more tired. We're seeing their relationships struggle. They can't process their emotions well or regulate their emotions well. So it's not just they're feeling sleepy, it's actually affecting a whole lots of areas of their lives where they don't realise or recognise that it's because they don't have enough sleep.
Which makes it something that's completely preventable, which is really great news. So for different age groups, how much sleep is recommended?
So really what we say is it's different for different children within age groups. So young children, preschoolers, we'd say between 11 and 14 hours in
That'd be nice.
Yes, within a 24-hour time period. Children who are at school is about 9 to 11 hours, and then teenagers are between 8 and 10. The frightening thing is they're saying only a tiny percent, about 8% of teenagers are actually getting the amount of sleep that they need, about 8.5 hours a night. Most teenagers are getting 7 or less hours because of their devices.
So then for the sleep-deprived mum in that mix, the adult who's maybe functioning on about 4 or 5 hours sleep, what would you recommend for them?
Look, I'm the biggest fan of the nana nap. I'm the queen of nana naps, let me just say. And so it's actually being kind to yourself as a parent, giving yourself permission to leave the washing, even for a week. So what if the washing just piles up or the dishwasher isn't unpacked? If you are really struggling and you don't have family to hand the child over for an hour or two, put on a movie if you have to on a Friday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon and go and put yourself in your room for a sleep. Really, your body will thank you, your children will thank you because you'll be less cranky.
Yep, mum won't be annoyed at them so much. So then how would you suggest we cultivate better sleep hygiene, as it's now being termed, to make sure we do get those hours?
So I think really with younger children, actually even adults and teens, it's about setting up a good sleep routine so that your body knows what's coming. Your body starts to predict, in about an hour, 2 hours sleep time is coming. So having regular routines will be different in every home, whether it's TV time and then some dinner and then bath and then sleep, whatever works for your family. The routine is very helpful. And then not overscheduling your child in the day. Sometimes we have too many sports that are finishing too late, and then it doesn't actually help them get enough sleep. Doing things like reading before sleep rather than screens are very helpful. And then making sure that you're switching off your screens an hour to 2 hours before bedtime, because we realize it's actually affecting the brain chemicals. That blue light behind your screen is actually telling your body, oh, it's daytime now, stay awake, and your brain needs to be hearing or registering it's actually time to fall asleep now.
Yeah, I think we can all take notes on that, Colette.
Yes.
Thank you. You can find more parenting and tips and expert advice from Colette and others. Follow our Instagram page, The Table TV Show, and also on Facebook as well.
Today we're giving away copies of Get Your Hopes Up by Glenn Garine, who was a guest on our show a while ago. If you'd like a copy, please email us at hello@mumsathetable.com with your name, postal address, and the heading Get Your Hopes Up. That's hello@mumsathetable.com. Speaking of never giving up hope, we're blessed today to be joined by the inspirational Tanya Manwaring, who is a mother and breast cancer survivor. Tanya, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us here today.
Thank you.
You know, it's kind of a common fear among women that as they're going through those checks, they might someday find something. And I'm wondering about that initial experience that you have. I understand that it was around the time that you had a family holiday planned.
Yes, we had a trip planned to Tasmania, and in October of that year, this is 2016, I noticed a little bit of blood from one of my nipples, and I thought that's highly unusual. I should probably get that checked out.
Sorry, blood?
Blood, yes.
That's not something we're normally told about.
No, it's not. We're so trained to look for lumps that I hadn't really initially thought that would be an issue. So I went straight to the doctor to get it checked out, and she didn't seem overly concerned. But she said, come back in a couple of weeks if it's still happening. And your body talks to you, though. Wow. So I had a little bit of pain about a week later, and I thought, this is my body trying to communicate. So I went back to the doctor, who then scheduled a mammogram and an ultrasound. And after a very long day at the hospital, after a lot of testing, they determined it was a stage 3 in breast cancer. So, yeah, a bit of a shock.
I'm just a bit. So when you think blood, right? Are you thinking like a trickle, like a droplet? Or?
Yeah, just a couple of drops. So I just noticed the bra was sticking, and I thought, what is that? And I thought, you know, you've been through breastfeeding, and you know that's normal. But it had been 6 years since I'd breastfed, so I thought that's obviously something else. So yeah, it was just not normal behaviour. So I thought, get it checked out.
So what kind of treatment did you get for it? I understand you're at the Sydney Adventist Hospital.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, do you mind just kind of running us through that?
Yes, so I had chemotherapy first. So within a couple of weeks of the diagnosis, I was in for chemotherapy, and I had 3 months of chemotherapy, so I came into the ward every week. And then I had a mastectomy in the April, so a little bit of a break after that, and then 6 weeks of radiation. So,
And was that on one side?
Yes, just on the right side, so one side only. So.
You have children.
I do. I have 3 girls. So at the time they were 9, 7 and 6.
Oh, so young.
Yeah, quite young, 3 girls.
Wow.
So.
And how did you find this balance of being a mom and, you know, having to deal with your own health at the same time?
Oh, we're just so lucky to have such a fabulous hospital in the sand just down the road. I'm a stay-at-home mum, so I had the time during when I dropped them at school, I would come straight to the hospital. They understood my time frame as well, so they always made sure that my appointments were within 9 to 3, and I'm only 10 minutes down the road, so I found it quite easy to manage that, and very lucky to have such a fabulous service so close to home.
So did you tell your children, and how much of it did you tell your children?
My husband and I decided we would tell the children, that we felt it was important for them to understand what was happening, and we could tell that in child terms as well. We didn't go into graphic detail, but we explained, chemotherapy as little soldiers going through the blood and fighting the tumour. And they came to the hospital, they met the nurses,
really?
They went into some of the procedures, saw the cannulas, and they were very open to the science and learning about what was happening. So I'm glad we told them as well. It's good to be honest and open.
And what was that conversation like with your husband? Like was he there with you when you got your diagnosis?
No, he wasn't. He travels for work, so I waited until he got home. And he tells me that I told him like I had an ingrown toenail or something. It was very just pragmatic, matter of fact. I was in mum mode, I was on autopilot, and he said I wasn't sort of what I was expecting. So I think I just did that thing where when you're caring for younger children, you just get on with doing what you have to do. But I think I sort of came unstuck a little bit further down the track when, I was in the middle of treatment. But, no, he was great. He's a rock.
And did you feel like you could kind of relax and when you were at the treatment? You know, because if you're in front of your family, you have to be everything for everybody. But when you're in treatment, you're able to be a patient.
And you can just let your guard down. You don't have to be the strong mummy all the time. You can just be the patient. And they gave me the space in the ward to do that, and very, very understanding. So that was good.
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, with your journey, right, there could be tinged with a lot of fear and sadness. How did you go around juggling that and facing that with you and your children?
It's hard to say. I think how I would do it if I was imagining it would be different to how you actually do it when it's happening, because you've just got to get on. I didn't tell the children straight away, so of course they're just like, where's dinner, and you know, what's happening, and you know, they distract you. But that fear was in the back of my mind, and I realised that that fear came from a place of not understanding what I was about to go through. I didn't understand the science. I'd had my cancer education through the media, so I really didn't know anything. And then once I sat down with the doctor and the oncologist and understood the plan and what was going to happen, it was nothing really to be fearful about. I felt that I got the information that I needed and that it was clear that they were going to get rid of it, so I could just be the patient and take on what I needed to do.
I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you were able to keep your hair, weren't you, throughout chemo?
Was, yes.
How did that positive, I assume it was a positive impact on your family, like it wouldn't have been as confronting.
Yes, exactly.
What were your feelings with that?
I was very surprised. I made the assumption that I would lose it, so I cut it as short as possible.
Oh, really?
Because I assumed it would go. And they said very early on in the orientation session, one of the nurses pulled me aside and said, we've got a new technology that will apply to your particular chemotherapy protocol. It doesn't work for everybody, but it was the particular drug that I had. And she said, you're going to be able to keep your hair possibly. So. Wow. Yeah, so it was a Paxman cold cap, which is a relatively new invention, and it is a bit like an ice cream headache for the first few minutes, but it's worth it. It's an extraordinary invention.
Yes.
So I looked like a wallaby when I had that cap on, and so yeah, I did keep it, and it was less confronting for the children.
And what would you say to other women who are facing this kind of diagnosis, or
Yes. Get the information, listen to your doctors, go and find out everything you possibly can, and just take comfort in the knowledge that there is new science every single time I go into that hospital. There is something new that they can tell me about. There was a new treatment that I received that wasn't available 6 months prior. So just find out the information and don't work off rumour, work off fact.
And did you find that you were able to find community in the other women who were going through it?
Yes, totally. Women came from everywhere, reached out to me. It's a little bit like once you have something, lots of people come out of the woodwork and come and reach out to you and tell you their stories. And people who'd been going about their day who I had no idea about just came and spoke to me, and I thought, there's this whole village around me now. But you have to be open and vulnerable to that to receive that as well. So you can't just be stoic and walk around like you're managing everything. You have to let your guard down and let people in to help you.
Have to come out of mum mode, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
Tanya, I want to thank you so much for sharing this with us. It's something that all women think about at some point in their lives. You know, if you've been inspired as much as I have today by Tanya's story, then I want you to definitely tell us there in the comment section. She's definitely turned what can often be a story of fear into a story of hope. Since October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we want to encourage all of you lovely ladies to remember to continue your regular self-checks and to make sure you're taking care of yourself as much as you're taking care of those around you. If you've loved spending this time with us today and you're wondering how you can have more fun with us, don't worry, you can watch us with additional episodes on YouTube, our Facebook account, and on Instagram. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.